objective. So objective writing, well, just the word objective, but then we can apply that to writing, means not influenced by personal feelings or opinions in considering and representing facts. So there does seem to be this sort of opposition or direct binary between objective and subjective. I don't think that we should 100% look at it that way, but we can, especially if you're new to looking at the difference between these two types of writings. Objective writing uses facts and statistics and doesn't skew that information by personal beliefs or bias. Objective writing can be summaries of other people's ideas. Those ideas that you are summarizing can be subjective, but your summaries, when you're just reporting on that information, assuming that you're not skewing them, can be objective. The purpose of objective writing is to allow readers to form their own opinions based on information that you provide in an unbiased way. So instead of judging or providing claims of value or worthwhileness, or any kind of subjective judgment, I know I said that already, but instead of doing that, we're just giving information and allowing the reader to come to their own judgments, come to their own conclusions, come to their own interpretations. Some common examples of objective writing include reports and unbiased summaries of others' work. I would say that you probably don't, with the exception of reports, you're probably not going to find very much required objective writing in college. Most of the writing you will be asked to do is subjective in some form, but probably uses objective information to support the subjective claim. Now, if you're asked to write just a report on something and not include any of your opinions, then yes, you are looking at objective writing. Some key identifiers of objective writing include specifics. Instead of saying a small amount of the population, you would say something like 10% of the population. So small is still able to be interpreted based on one person's opinion, right? What I think might be small, someone else might not think is small. So while that's not necessarily 100% subjective, I do think that if you are able to find a specific instead of something vague, then always go with the specific. Another example is in 2005. A lot of the times I'll see students say, a long time ago, or back in the day, or a couple years ago, but why not be really specific? That's objective. We can identify, did that actually happen in 2005? And then, if we're talking about numbers again, 15 people, that sounds better than many or a few or some. Objective writing also does not have value judgments. Okay, so I would say that laptop costs $600. I would not say that laptop is cheap or that laptop is expensive. Those are value judgments, and I don't necessarily mean money, but it works here. I am telling you how much it costs. I am not telling you whether it's cheap or expensive. I'm going to let you decide if you think spending $600 on a laptop is cheap or if it's expensive. Another example, he has submitted his expense reports late for the past 16 weeks. Am I saying he's a bad employee? No, that would be subjective. But I can say something objective. I can look at his expense report submission dates and for the past 16 weeks, and I can see whether or not they've been submitted late. So objective writing is something that you can prove true or false. It doesn't have to be true, but you can prove it true or false. Another example is the workshop will take 5 hours with no lunch break. Now, I might say that sounds like the worst workshop on the history of the planet, but that's not the point of objective writing. We want to give specifics, and we don't want to make judgments or interpretations or evaluations. A lot of objective writing includes third-person pronouns because we're not bringing in our opinions or what we think about anything. It avoids intensifiers like really or very. Most students use really and very. I use really and very. So it's really not something, there it is. It's not necessarily something that's bad. It's, or something that you just naturally can say, oh, I'm not going to do that. It's almost something that you have to spend one proofreading session paying attention to. Did I use really? Did I use very? If I did, take it out. Do I need to edit that sentence? Or can I just remove the word? Same thing is true for avoiding absolutes. Objective writing won't necessarily say always or never, because we know that 9 times out of 10, you can't always prove something or never prove something. So those are some examples, or some functions of objective writing or common identifiers. Let's take a look at these examples. Now, we've looked at these examples before in our subjective one, but let's put the focus on objective writing. So we have 2 statements. The first one says, we Americans need to elect a president who is mature and who's able to make wise decisions. The second one says, to be elected president of the United States, a candidate must be at least 35 years of age. Which one is objective? The second one. Because the second one doesn't make any value judgments. It's just a claim that can be proven true or false. We can look at what it takes to be the president of the United States and decide, do you have to be at least 35 or not? We can't necessarily say that we need to elect a president who is mature and can make wise decisions, because just a simple adjective or judgment of what is maturity and wise is difficult to narrow down. It's difficult to agree upon. So number 2 is objective. How about another example? In an Irish study, participants who exercised showed measurable improvement of their memory, while participants who did not exercise showed no improvement. Or the other sentence, all students should exercise not just because exercise is fun, but also because it's good for the brain. So maybe the study would lead you to believe that number 2 is true, but number 2 is still subjective. So number 1 is objective. We can prove true or false that if we looked at the study, participants who exercised showed a measurable improvement, and we'd read that in the study. Or who didn't, no improvement. But we can't make should statements. We can't say all students should exercise. We can't say exercising is fun. I don't think that's fun. But maybe some people do, right? That's subjectivity. So in this case, number 1 is objective. And another example. First sentence says, the biggest mistake a newcomer to the workforce makes is to choose a career and stick to it regardless of changing circumstances. The second sentence says, surveys conducted by researchers at the Bureau of Labor Statistics show that workers under 24 years of age are more likely to switch jobs than older workers. Number 2 is great. It's objective. We have a source that's been cited. We have specifics from the research that was conducted. We have a number under 24 years of age are more likely to switch jobs. We can prove that true or false. Saying something is a big mistake is subjective, because maybe there are millennials that would agree, like me, that there's nothing wrong with, I guess these wouldn't be millennials. Millennials change jobs, right? Maybe there are people out there who think that it's fine to just pick a job and stick to it because that's what you did, and that's okay, right? So that's a subjective thing. And to say that something is a big mistake, regardless of what it is subjective, because what you think is a mistake, I might not. And so that's kind of one of the things that you could do to kind of evaluate, is this sentence subjective or objective? So take a second to read through these sentences. If you need a minute, you can pause. I'll just kind of read them to you as well. And I want you to decide which ones are objective sentences. There's 2 of them. The first sentence says, troubleshooting is the most important skill for a software developer. The second sentence says, currently there are over 400,000 computer systems analysts working in the United States. The third sentence says, whether or not students intend to pursue a career in technology, all students should have excellent computer skills in order to become competitive in today's job market. And the fourth sentence says computer systems analysts earn an average annual income of approximately $83,000. 83,000. Yes. Okay, so the two sentences that have numbers in them are objective. Now, just because they have numbers doesn't make them objective, but that again is a function. Often a key indicator of objective writing is to be really specific, and so we see that here as well. So the sentences, currently there are over 400,000 computer systems analysts working in the United States, and computer systems analysts earn an average annual income of approximately $83,000. Both of those are objective because they are verifiable. We can prove them true or false. There's no value judgment, there's no evaluation of an idea or a thought. It's just a statement of fact. All right, so that's objective writing, and I think that it's once we have sort of under our belt the difference and kind of thinking about both of them and comparing and looking at how they look different and similar, we can kind of start to really make sense of objective and subjective. I think there are still some gray areas, but if you have questions, just let me know.